Hello and a warm welcome to all attendees joining today's webinar, Apex Under Control, Consistent Development in Large Oracle Apex Landscapes. Well, we are very happy that you join us today. We have a quite interesting crowd, interesting attendee today, joining us from about 20-25 countries. So we are very happy to welcome you here. My name is Sascha Sander. I'm VP Sales at PITS, and it's a pleasure for me to moderate and take you through a quick tour through today's session. Well, the main part of today's session will be presented by those two gentlemen you see here, by Christian Piasecki, consultant at PITS, very experienced in Apex, and I'm very happy to welcome Carsten Tarski. He's Oracle expert. He's consulting member of technical staff of Oracle Application Express.
Sascha, one interruption. We don't see the slides of you.
Okay, so please check again. You see it?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, sorry. So now you see those great two gentlemen here running today's presentation. Well, Carsten will provide us today with valuable information on modern web development with Apex 5.0 and also with a short outlook on Apex 5.1. So, well, Christian, you hear me? I hope that Carsten can hear us also very well, and I'm very happy. It's great that you're with us.
Thank you very much.
So the question for today's session, we always ask ourselves questions before doing presentations, of course, and while working in grown Apex system landscapes with probably multiple applications from diverse developers, the requirement and the challenge is who can still track what's going on? Who can predict how changes in the database layer, for example, will affect every single Apex application? Well, in this webinar, you will learn how to fully assess the impact of database changes on your Apex applications, for example, identifying all objects that need to be adjusted, and then performing such changes throughout the entire application. So in a nutshell, you will learn how to keep control of your Apex application landscape and how to achieve consistent development. Let's start with a quick view on the agenda for today's webinar. First of all, I'd like to take a chance for a quick intro and update about PITS and PITSCon product and solution stack. And then Carsten will move forward at once talking about Apex, what is Apex, where to use Apex, and talking about Apex features, talking about latest Apex features as well. So we're very happy about and we look forward to this session. And before going in the next step together with Christian, we've prepared a quick poll just to ask you for some feedback information from your side. I will do one just before or after this intro, but it's important for us here also to see what you're using, what you're currently involved in with Apex. So Christian, of course, will talk about the challenge to face in complex Apex applications. He will talk about the PITSCon analysis. He will talk about Apex, of course, Apex analysis down to database. And like always, we will have a Q&A session prepared for you. So we have a quick wrap up. We will have the opportunity to discuss all of your questions in this Q&A session. And therefore, as always, to minimize sound problems, attendees' mics are set on mute during the presentation here. And of course, you will have the possibility to ask your questions by chat to any dedicated topic coming up during the presentation. So therefore, please use the feature chat questions at the GoToMeeting application. You will find this in the right bar of these apps. So also during the presentation, feel free to log in all your questions that can be discussed and answered then in the Q&A session. So, some few words. We are around since '99. PITS is working globally, directly from our headquarters here in Germany with 3 locations. We are targeting the UK market out of London, Twickenham with PITS UK, and for the Americas with the daughter company PITS LLC out of Troy, Michigan. So moreover, we collaborate with various regions or in various regions with dedicated and certified PITS partners, providing our solution and expert services in their countries, backed by PITS directly. We are a long-standing Oracle partner. We are a preferred migration partner, doing even better testing for forms versions. For example, we are very busy in the Oracle community. We join directly or together with partners a lot of events. We run a lot of presentations. So whenever you have the chance to join events, secret groups, take a look for PITS. We would be very happy to welcome you at one of our stands or welcome you at one of our presentations. We are a leading provider of tools for Oracle Forms. We work successfully with hundreds of companies internationally, performing modernization, analysis, ongoing development, all based on our solution, our repository-based solution, what called Con. This is to say that our product is not just working on PowerPoint. We have a lot of very happy customers around the globe, be it in Europe, be it in Middle East, Asia Pacific, and the Americas, of course. Quick view on PITS, PITSCon. Those who know it already or haven't seen this magic wheel, so depending on customer premises, our product is not only a one-time disposable product, but a short and long-term and multifunctionality tool that improves development processes and further application maintenance, and therefore PITS offers a huge stack of functionality. It's known as an innovative product for analyzing and maintaining forms, but also Apex, and even supporting the evolvement of these applications to the next level according to Oracle technology stack. And the focus of today is Apex, of course. So based on our software and solution, we all related services for a successful project, starting with project management, of course, for modernization tasks, analysis, workshops, the training, all supported by a highly skilled team of Oracle professionals. The core products you see here, beyond our own product, or related Oracle product like forms, reports, and the focus of today, Apex. Cool. So far from my side at this moment, I would like to start a quick poll before handing over to Karsten, and appreciate if...
Sasha, we have some problems with the first poll. We have to cancel it, so...
Okay, no problem. So let's move forward directly with Karsten. I would like to hand over the moderator rights to you, Karsten. Hold on 1 second. Talking about L3. Okay. Oh, you got it.
Okay, so now you should see my screen.
Perfect.
Saying Application Express and overview.
Yes.
And let me start right away. 1 moment. Okay, let's go on. Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the chance to give an overview on Application Express. I was pretty happy when Christian asked me to do the Apex part in the webinar. First, a few words on my person. Perhaps one or the other knows me already from Twitter or from some conferences. I'm Carsten Sarski. I'm working for Oracle since 2001. And so the last 15 years, I was a pre-sales consultant within Oracle Germany. And for a week now, since a week, I'm very happy and excited to be a member of the Application Express development team. And I'm pretty looking forward to this kind of exciting work. I'm still based in Munich, where I live with my wife and 2 children. And if you want to get engaged with me, you might follow me on Twitter, drop me a note, whatever. It's very easy to get in touch with an Oracle employee. It's simply firstname.lastname@oracle.com. Okay, let's go into the content directly. What is Oracle Application Express? Perhaps one or the other already have experience with Application Express. Some others may be new to Application Express. So I would like to give some introduction to Apex for those who don't know about it so far. Those of you who are experienced with Apex, bear with me, I will keep it rather short, and perhaps one or the other thought is also still interesting for you experienced guys. So what is Application Express? Application Express is an environment to create database-centric applications within the Oracle database directly from your browser. So we have an application development environment which runs inside the Oracle database, which allows us to create database-centric applications. These applications are web applications to be displayed on the browser. And the development environment and the runtime environment is both the same. It's both Apex. So you use your browser to create and modify your applications, and the applications run in the browser as well. So Apex is part of the Oracle database. So if you have purchased a license or multiple licenses for the Oracle database, you all have already purchased Apex. And looking into the possibilities your Apex provides to you, it's really interesting, and you should really at least look into Apex and to try out what it can bring to you. It's a lot of functionality, and it's at your fingertips. You have it already. It's just about, do I use it or do I use it not? And you can use Apex in all database editions. It's even part of the cost-free Oracle XE database. From the release standpoint of view, Apex typically supports the current release and one release back. So the current 5.0 Apex release runs on Oracle 12c, of course, and also on Oracle 11.1 and 11.2. On 10, Oracle Apex 5.0 does not run anymore. If you go one Apex release back to 4.2, this was a release which ran on 10.2, 11, and 12. So that's for the vast majority of customers, this is not an issue at all. Most customers I meet typically run on 11.2. There are typically a few databases with 10 and 9, but that's typically a minority. Okay, what architecture do we have with Application Express? As I already said, Apex runs inside the Oracle database. So everything what's required to get the page on your browser happens in the database. The database renders the complete page of your Apex application. It generates all markup, and it does all processing. So it's not only data processing, it's also business logic. Everything runs in the Oracle database. We need, of course, since we are working with a browser, the browser wants to connect some sort of an HTTP server. And the database, of course, is not an HTTP server. So we need some sort of web server between the database and the browser. And Apex offers multiple choices here. We can use an Apache, an Oracle Apache server with the mod PL/SQL. The database also provides a simplified HTTP server. That's the so-called embedded PL/SQL gateway. And the recommended choice is to use the Oracle REST Data Services software, which is also known as the Apex Listener, which is a Java-based Apex web server. Note that this web server is only a very, very thin layer. It just takes requests from the browser, passes them to the database renders the page, and the content is being passed back to the browser. So this is not comparable to Java middle-tier application server, which does a lot of logic and processing. This is simply a web server. The interesting stuff all happens in the database. And very interesting and basically, honestly, to me, the most interesting, the most fascinating thing about Apex is that it's completely metadata-driven. So what does that mean? When you create an application in Apex and you go through the wizard, create application, you provide a name, you declare the application date format, you choose some authentication method and all this kind of stuff. When you finish these wizards and your application is being created, it basically inserts a row into a table, Apex applications. In reality, this table has another name, but imagine a table which is called Apex applications. So then you go ahead and add a page to your application. So the table Apex application pages gets another row. You add another page, a second, a third. Apex application pages gets the second, third, or fourth row. Then you add a report to page 1. Then there is, of course, a table which is called Apex application page regions and Apex application page reports. And there are several tables. So Apex actually implements a data model for generic applications. And all the structure of your application is stored within that data model. And to get the right amount of flexibility, because such a data model, if it would be static, it would never meet the requirements of a real life project. So at all places, Apex allows you to store custom PL/SQL code, custom SQL queries, and this code or these queries are being passed at runtime. So in cases or at places where Apex doesn't have that component which exactly fits your need, you typically go ahead and add some PL/SQL code which does exactly what you want to have. Since Apex runs in the Oracle database, we can also leverage all database functionality. So the database is at hand. It's totally different to, let's say, a Java or C environment where the developer typically is always thinking about, do I really want to make a round trip to the database, because database round trips are expensive. That's not true with Apex. You are already in the database. So executing a SQL query to get some information or executing a SQL function to do some processing isn't expensive at all. You are already in the database. So the opposite is true. Using the given functionality in the Oracle database is the best choice for your application. So you can use XML functionality, SQL, PL/SQL, spatial data functionality, and all the other libraries which are present in your Oracle database. I already said Apex is metadata driven. You have Apex implements the data model. So Apex consists internally, Apex consists of those tables I mentioned and a PL/SQL engine which maintains that tables and which renders the pages from that metadata. So this is the advantage of this metadata approach is at hand, because no code is generated at any time. Apex is not a code generator at all. So when you execute your application, the browser is about to render the home page. Apex collects the metadata for that page, executes SQL queries and PL/SQL blocks, and generates the HTML and passes it back to the browser. And as we will see, this is performant, this does work, and this scales. Since Apex runs in the Oracle database, so Apex is, from a performance point of view, from a scalability point of view, Apex is as good as the Oracle database. So, and another huge advantage you get from a data dictionary is that you have structured access to your applications. And that's something which is an uncountable advantage. So consider this simple example here. This is a query on how many are it? It's just one table. So this is a query on Apex application page regions. So we collect all the rows, and there is some counting and grouping. And this simple query, 3 lines of code, answers the question, how many applications do I have in my database, in my Apex installation? How many pages does each application have? And how many regions, so page components, does each application have? So a simple query gives you an impression about the complex, the larger, and the smaller applications. And you get all this simply by executing some SQL queries. You can use this repository for QA. So many customers are doing stuff like, hey, give me all page items, so form items, which are declared as to have a help text, but where the help text is actually empty, which is a bad user experience. You can imagine you click on the help for that item and it simply says nothing, or it says no help text exists for that item. That's cumbersome for end users, and as a developer, you want to get rid of all these cases. So in Apex, you don't walk manually through all your pages and investigate this. You simply execute a SQL query on Apex application page items and where help text is not null. So a very powerful tool at hand, and it's not an addition to Apex, it's Apex itself. Apex is the repository, and querying and working with the repository is a basic part of Apex. Okay, some sort of history. Apex was introduced with the 10G database back in 2004. And this was the very first version, HTMLDB 1.5. So the name of Apex was formerly HTMLDB. And even then, HTMLDB was a component which was already 5 years old. The very beginnings of Apex was back in 1999 when Oracle Consulting in the US did projects and started to build an engine which is able to generate dynamic components. Then sometime later, this was used internally by Oracle to build applications. It was further improved, productized, and in 2004, it was the time to go to the market. Then we see improvements over time. I won't walk you through that in the very detail. The interesting points are that with Apex 4.2, which is 4 years ago, we got support for mobile applications. Apex 5.0 last year was a very important release. The page designer completely changed how developers work with Apex. We have now really advanced development environment. Things you typically developers know from desktop tools are now incorporated into the browser. And the universal theme, which allows you to create modern responsive applications simply out of the box. So you create a standard application, and the universal theme is the default. It's the default layout configuration. And after creating your applications, it's out of the box, it's responsible, and it has a modern theme. So this was really exciting a year ago, and Apex 5.0 is for sure the release which did get one of the best responses in the 12 years of history of Apex. So if you have installed Apex and you log into your Apex instance, you will see that homepage. You will see the application builder, which allows you to create applications. You will see SQL Workshop, which is kind of a SQL plus or SQL command interface in the browser. You will have a minimalistic team development feature, which allows you to coordinate smaller development teams, and there are some pre-configured applications by Oracle. The Workspace concept is also very interesting because Apex was hostable, or today we would say Apex was in the cloud from the very first day, because Apex has the concept of a workspace. So you don't simply create an Apex application, you first get a workspace. You log into that workspace, and in the workspace you create your application, and workspaces are isolated from each other. And from the database point of view, a workspace is the Apex domain, the Apex realm, and it's connected to a database schema, which is the database realm. The database schema contains tables, views, PL/SQL. The workspace contains Apex users, Apex applications, and Apex settings. So, and the Apex application in the workspace can access the database objects in the schema. As I said, all workspaces are independent from each other. So, and each workspace has a workspace administrator, which is not the database administrator. So, if the central data, so if a workspace is granted, or when a workspace has been granted, the workspace administrator can can work independently. He can create new users, he can create new applications, he can log users, he can drop applications, and the central administrator is only needed when you need more privileges. So more space quota, you need additional privileges, perhaps you want to do some outbound HTTP requests, or you need special privileges. That's something where the central Apex administrator or the DBA is needed, but for the daily work, the Workspace administrator can completely live on their own. So once you have the Workspace, you can go on developing your applications. And we see this principle in action on two servers I would like, or two environments I would like to introduce to you. The first one is very known. This is apex.oracle.com. This is the demo and evaluation instance for Oracle Application Express. It's accessible from the internet, and everybody gets a workspace at no cost. So if you like, if you haven't tried it so far, go to apex.oracle.com, click on the sign up button, and then Oracle asks you 5 questions. So what's your name? What's your email address? And the email address is important because we need to mail the credentials to you. So please, data protection is okay, but in that case, we really need the email to communicate with you. So please give us a valid email address. You will then be prompted to choose a schema name, to choose a workspace size, to provide a short justification. Don't spend too much time on this. And then 15 minutes later, you will have your workspace. And right at this time, this instance runs more than 10,000 workspaces. And that means also more than 10,000 database schemas. And it's about 30,000 applications. And it serves currently about 7 million page views per week. To be honest, that's a demo instance. So if we talk about 10,000 schemas, I have to admit the vast majority of these should be simple workspaces with just the amp and dep tables, perhaps the first application and nothing more. So, okay, let's go and subtract 90% of these. So let's assume 10% have a real application, it's running something. It's still 1,000 workspaces and 1,000 database schemas. So this is an environment which really scales with the Oracle database, which really allows you to have multiple projects in your Oracle database to fully leverage a database server. Beyond the demo instance, Oracle uses an internal Apex instance, so you won't be able to access the second one. It's only accessible within the Oracle internal network. And this is a productive instance where business departments within Oracle can have their workspace and build applications on it. And the provisioning process is exactly the same as for the external instance. So business departments at Oracle are not cross-charged for these workspaces. So if the Carsten guy, wants to have 20 workspaces on this environment to build some applications, to build perhaps a few small reporting application, to collect some data from my colleagues or whatsoever, I would simply go ahead and request all these workspaces, and they will be granted, and I could start building my applications without any cross-charge manager approval or something else. This environment is simply there, and it is being accepted by the Oracle colleagues. We have about 2,000 workspaces and more than 5,000 applications. Again, if I consider 90% of these applications as just playing around, then there are still remaining 500 applications, which might be huge production things, perhaps business critical. You can see what you can get out of an Oracle database using Application Express. Okay, other popular applications are Ask Tom. I'm pretty sure most of you know this page. It's being accessed by thousands of Oracle developers, browsing, searching, looking for answers to their questions. And this is once on Apex for several years now. We have the Oracle Store, which is also driven by Application Express, which allows customers who don't want to talk to third party, to resellers, or who don't want to talk to an Oracle guy, who simply want to log in somewhere and buy some stuff. They can do this in the Oracle store, and this is also run by Oracle Application Express. We have even more of these examples. If you go to apex.oracle.com/community, you will get an overview on the worldwide community activities around Application Express. And as soon as this opens, you will see the sections of the page. I would just like to look into success stories, and there you see more success stories from customers who did successful implementations with Application Express. A success story in the Oracle world is typically something which consists multiple pages. The project is explained, the value of Apex is explained. Since we have a lot of customers who don't want to go through such a process, it's kind of a process to get such an Oracle success story. The Apex team also created that quotes section. So these are just simple short statements from customers who are happy with Application Express. And when you look into it, you see it's rather short, rather brief, a very brief introduction and a very brief quote about what value Application Express provides to that very customer. If you are lucky with Apex, or if you are happy with Apex yourself, if you have a cool project which you want to tell the world about, but perhaps building an Oracle reference story is too complicated, the process is just too huge for you, consider submitting us a quote. We are happy to get as many quotes as we can, and you have the chance to get your project, to get a bit of visibility for your project, for your success with Application Express, if you like, of course. Okay. Now, before I finish, allow me just to add a few notes about Apex 5.1. Currently, we have to release Apex 5.0 is in the wild, and development is working on the next release, Apex 5.1. I can't tell you a date, so the official statement is Apex 5.1 will appear anytime in calendar year 2016. I cannot give an exact date, but I can give you a bit of insight into what Apex 5.1 will bring to you. So this is not a major release like 5.0. It's Apex 5.1. These releases are typically to round up the features which were introduced with the 0 release. So one important thing is the interactive grid. The interactive grid will provide a new way for modern multi-row editing. So we will have a component which is driven by a SQL query or a table as the data source, which displays that data like today's interactive report, but which also, and here it comes, which also allows you to edit this data, and that in a modern, responsive way. So it will be possible to do freeze headers. You will be able to freeze the column headers. You will also be able to freeze the left column like an Excel. You will be able to make multiple changes in that grid and to save them all at once. You will be able to build master detail forms based on these components, or even master detail, or even parent, child, and grandchild. So since we can have multiple interactive grids on a page, and since these interactive grids can be linked together by primary and foreign key relations, we can build any master detail relationship we want. And in the midterm, this will for sure be the replacement for the existing tabular forms. For the Apex experts in the audience, interactive grid will lift a lot of, or even all of the limitations you currently experience with the tabular forms. It will be also a replacement for interactive report, because a read-only interactive grid. It's basically the same as an interactive report, and for web sheet data grids. Another component will be the new charting engine. Currently, Apex charts are based on any chart. And since Oracle announced Oracle Jet last year's Open World, the Apex team decided to take Oracle Jet as the new charting engine. So the Oracle Jet charting engine provides, again, modern, state-of-the-art charts, which are HTML5 based, which are responsive and accessible, which run on every desktop, tablet, or smartphone, and in every browser. And the Jet charts provide a variety of charts, like here's a polar chart example, but also bubble charts, bar charts, line charts, various combination. And Apex 5.1 will make these charts available to you in a declarative manner. So as always with Apex, you will simply provide a SQL query as the data source, choose the chart type, configure it, and you're off to go. Finally, we will have improvements through over the rest of Apex. In Page Designer, we will integrate the component view into the Page Designer. There will be a two-column mode. There will be live template options, an improvement for the template options we introduced with Apex 5.0. Now you will be able to change template options and to instantly see what the effect of your changes. And finally, universal theme right-to-left support. And before I finish, just the final word on the apex.world website. This is not an Oracle website. This is from the community, for the community. So around Open World last year, the community launched this website, which is a landing page for Apex developers. You can register for an account at Apex World. You can get in contact with other developers. You can get an overview about conferences, meetup, what's happening in the community. You will see what plugins are, what extensions, plugins are available for, about Apex. You will be able to participate in chatting with other developers, exchanging, answering questions. So it's a great website to get in contact with the rest of the community. And if you are in Apex and you haven't registered for Apex World, I would say do this today. Right now, register for apex.world, and you see on this map, you are not alone with Apex. It's a great, very vibrant community. And if you have a question, I'm pretty sure you will get a lot of very helpful answers, not necessarily from Oracle, but from the community, from your peers, so to say. Okay, thank you very much for your attention, and I will hand back
to me, Carsten. I take over.
Okay.
Moderator rights. Okay, thank you very much, Carsten. Thank you very much.